What is up, guys? Welcome back to another UFC prediction video. This week, we got UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Kavanagh in Mexico. You know, got to have the annual Moreno Mexican main event. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get right into the full card predictions. Kind of a stinker in terms of the card quality, but, you know, we'll get right into it. This is a decent fight, though. Damian Piñas versus Wes Schultz. You know, Wes Schultz fought on the Contender Series twice. Good grappling game. Got brutally finished by Mansour Abdulmalik the first time he fought on the Contender Series. Good grappler. You know, I believe he won on the Contender Series last time via guillotine choke. But he's very, very good with his submission game. But Damian Piñas, I don't really think is going to entertain the grappling too much. He's a very good athlete. Takedown defense is going to hold up, I believe. And on the feet, this really shouldn't be competitive. Wesley Schultz has, you know, some decent leg kicks and range striking, but Piñas has much more power. His cage control is very good. He's very composed on the feet as well. You can tell that, you know, he feels natural. He feels safe on the feet, and he definitely has shot finding ability and one punch KO power. I think he gets a first round knockout here in this fight against Wesley Schultz. Next fight on the card, we have Eric Silva versus Francis Marshall. Francis Marshall is easily going to win this fight, probably by second round submission. He's better in every single facet of MMA. He's more active. He's younger. He's a better athlete. Trains out of American Top Team. Eric Silva, inactive, got injured last time and finished in the first round by Muhammad Naimov. Hasn't done anything in the UFC. Francis Marshall has every single piece of upside in this fight. Beat Myron Santos last time out, and that's a very high level win against a very dangerous opponent. He's going to easily school Eric Silva. He's the biggest favorite on the card for a reason. He's going to finish this fight quite easily. Next fight on the card, we have Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Javier Reyes. Javier Reyes, you know, the only real, you know, high-level fights that he has had has been against Larry and Douglas, and then in the Contender Series, you know, he fought kind of a can, to be real. I mean, they were talking about the guy working at a warehouse before his, you know, Contender Series fight, and a lot of fighters have to have real jobs before they, you know, get into the UFC, but I don't think that was a high-level opponent who was able to really put together high-level training before that opportunity. Javier Reyes is super sloppy on the feet, and he just kind of is a marauder. Douglas Silva de Andrade, been around forever, pretty technical fighter, low output, and his athleticism is definitely fading at this point in his career. He's probably about 40 years of age. We know how the Brazilians are, but he's a crafty vet. You know, had a close fight with Miles Johns last time out, and he's tough, hard to put away. He's fought the best of the best, though, you know. Throughout his career, he's been in there with a lot of high-level fighters. You know, he fought Peter Yan back in the day. I believe Peter Yan finished him up. Fought Lerone Murphy. And, you know, he's been in there with high-level fighters throughout his career. And I think that he's just going to be a more well-put-together fighter, higher fight IQ, decent defense. And as long as he doesn't get chinned by Javier Reyes' sloppy blitz right hand over the top, he should win a decision here. So, yeah, give me the vet, Douglas Silva de Andrade, to win this one. Next fight on the card. Why do they do this to Chris Moutinho? At least they're giving him someone shit. Chris Moutinho, you know, got stained by Wellmaker, got styled on by Sean O'Malley. That's all we know him for, realistically. Christian Quinonez, on the other hand, pretty inactive. He was supposed to fight Cody Garbrandt, if I'm not mistaken, and that fight got canceled. No, he was supposed to fight Adrian Yanez, and that fight got canceled. I think Adrian Yanez would have easily finished him. You know, Quinonez is not good whatsoever. In my opinion, he literally has a really sloppy double jab 2, or not even a 2 really. It's just a looping right hand. It's not straight whatsoever. His striking is very sloppy, not a well put together fighter. He does have natural KO ability. I won't even be surprised if Chris Moutinho wins this fight, but I'm kind of just going to have to go Christian Quinonez. I'll pick him to win a 29-28 decision here, but this is not even worth watching realistically. That, you know, what happens after this one, if Alan Perez wins, may be worth watching, but yeah, I'll pick Perez to win this one via submission. Macy Chasson, decent striking, but her, you know, her downfall has always been the grappling. So yeah, give me Perez, who has pretty good, you know, takedowns, top position, submissions. She's going to win this fight, you know, using her grappling. Next fight on the card, we have Ryan Gandra versus Jose Daniel Medina. Look, it's been funny, Jose Daniel Medina, but at this point, I'm just sick and tired of fucking seeing him. He's going to lose again. He's shit. Ryan Gandra by first round TKO. I mean, his toughness was funny in the beginning, but it's like, how many times are we just going to send this dude out there to get a beating? And I'm not even trying to be a dick. It's just like, he's not UFC level and he's taking a lot of unnecessary damage. Magomed Gadzhiesulov, Zach Reese, Ateba fucking Gautier, they've all just murdered him and styled on him for 3 rounds. So, Ryan Gandra wins this fight. Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. Gonna be picking Santiago Luna here. High-level prospect. He's gonna be in his home, soil here in this fight. Crowd's gonna be going crazy for him. And his finish over Quang Lee, who's a tough opponent, who's a tough out. Good grappling, good clinch game. Santiago Luna I'm pretty sure he even took that fight on short notice. Came in there, displayed some really good hands, displayed some really good shot finding ability. He has really good in and out movement. He'll throw a jab, pop out, block 1-2 on the way back in. Similar to Lerner Kavanagh, if you will. But yeah, I think Santiago Luna is just way more talented, way better on the feet. And he's just going to school Angel Pacheco 30-27. So yeah, give me Santiago Luna. Next fight on the card, Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas, what does he have? 3 fights in the UFC? 4. He lost to Joshua Van. Most recently lost to Suma Durji. Had a decent performance there against Rodriguez, but he is really only a boxer. Doesn't have that much to his game. Doesn't really throw many kicks. Doesn't offensively grapple. He has decent hands. He's got a good 1-2, good straight shots. You'd like to see him maybe throw more volume because he is a pretty tough fighter, pretty durable. The defense is actually decent as well. Kind of has, Phil Rowe syndrome, if you will. But I think that Emmanuel Rodriguez is just more well-versed as an MMA fighter. He's not just going to throw hands. He's going to, threaten level changes. He's going to throw kicks. He's going to, just mix up the targets. He's just going to be the more dynamic fighter here. And as long as his cardio holds up, which may be a concern, I think that he's going to beat Kevin Borjas, who is just 1-2-dimensional for my liking. Next fight on the card, Felipe Bunes versus Edgar Chairez. Was Felipe Bunes' last win against Jose Johnson? It was, okay. And he lost to Joshua Van and Rafael Estevam. He pretty much just got, controlled versus Rafael Estevam. That was kind of a slow-paced fight. He was in there with some long-rangey striking moments, but that's because Estevam is like literally 5 foot. He may be 4'11". But Edgar Chairez is, a gritty fighter, and he normally turns up when he does fight in Mexico. I believe his last fight, was in Mexico against CJ Vergara. Had a good start to his fight versus Joshua Van. Dropped the last 2 rounds, kind of gassed out. He has a high energy using style, and he's not really the most efficient fighter, if you will. He can gas out, but does a lot of damage, threatens guillotines very often. He has a nasty, nasty guillotine. Very good submission game overall. If you look into this dude's career, there was a nasty late stoppage that he had in one of his fights where he submitted the dude like twice and he was out cold the whole time. Edgar Chairez, pretty nasty and gritty fighter. And he literally has that dog on him. He literally has that dog in him for real. I think he's probably going to get a TKO win here against Felipe Bunes. Felipe Bunes has a good submission game, but the long-rangey striking is just not going to be enough to keep Edgar Chairez from imposing an aggressive game plan, which he tends to do. Mixes in knees and elbows pretty well. Good kicking game as well. The boxing isn't super technical, but, he hits decently hard and he's aggressive enough to at least throw enough shots to land. So, yeah, give me Chairez to win this one via TKO. Daniel Zullhuber versus King Green. I can't stand either of these fighters. Daniel Zullhuber, I've literally never been high on him whatsoever. All throughout my channel, I picked against him when he fought Prado. I picked Prado there, which was a terrible pick, but nonetheless. I picked him in both of these fights, and, I had action on him in the Johnson fight. Let me down there big time. And that's not just why I'm, picking against him here. Well, I'm not actually going to be picking against him here against Bobby Green. I should have picked Ribovich, but I was underrating Ribovich at the time. Christoph Giagos, that was a decent little win. Lost to Trey Ogden, Lando Venata. He's putting together a decent little UFC resume at this point. He's getting some experience under his belt, but, he has decent elbow counters, which is kind of his saving grace because his hands just aren't good whatsoever. Doesn't let his hands go, nearly enough. He had a scrap with Ribovic, of course, but I think that fight was really overrated. Last time out, against Michael Johnson, he looked like dog shit. Literally all he was doing was throwing the worst roundhouse kick to the arms you've ever seen in your entire life. And he wasn't even throwing switch kicks. He was only throwing the right roundhouse kick to the arms the entire fight and did nothing else whatsoever. No footwork, no head movement. His head movement's okay. I'll say that. His footwork is not, though. His head movement's decent. I remember when he got rocked by Ribovic, had some good defense there. But footwork, not good. Kind of has baby giraffe syndrome, if you will. But Bobby Green just doesn't really have the tools necessary to kind of school him. You know, if this was like a Rafael Fiziev or something like that, somebody with a good kicking arsenal, good ability to close the distance. But King Green, back foot fighter, back foot boxer. He'll jab you up on the back foot. He looks to land that pull counter, kind of like a, hood knockoff Walmart MMA version of Floyd Mayweather. Had a decent little performance last time out against, what was it, Lance Gibson Jr.? Yeah. What was the last time but he got fucking stained multiple times before that. He beat Jim Miller and absolutely schooled him there, but I can't get over the Jalen Turner stoppage, the Roofy TKO. Those were really bad. But Bobby Green's always the type of guy where, he's game. He doesn't have a great chin, but he's always game. He could give Daniel Zullhuber issues, but he's not a front foot fighter like Michael Johnson is, and he's not a southpaw either, which is one of the reasons why Daniel Zullhuber struggled so much with Michael Johnson. And he's also just not quite as fast, doesn't hit quite as hard as Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson knocked him down multiple times. I'm going to pick Daniel Zullhuber here by 29-28 split decision. Just a really bad performance by Daniel Zullhuber. I mean, I want to see him get slimed out by somebody like, who's a nasty lightweight on the come up. Give me Daniel Zullhuber versus Nazim Sadikov. Sadikov KOs him in the first round, easy. But yeah, he'll beat King Green narrowly. David Martinez versus Chito Vera. Look, Chito Vera's been disgustingly overrated for a very long time. O'Malley absolutely just toyed with him. Figueiredo had a good performance against him, knocked him down, finally cracked that chin, got outboxed by Zahabi. It's just what it is. Zahabi straight up outboxed him in the pocket, used footwork on him, and jabbed him up, was landing the 1-2, and just was the cleaner striker out there on the day. And Chito Vera, all he really has is striking. He has some submissions in his, early UFC career, but that's not something that he threatens. He doesn't shoot takedowns. Lackluster fight versus Pedro Munoz, who hasn't had a win since. Schooled by Sanhagen. Completely lucky shotted Cruz. Like, Cruz was schooling him before the knockdowns and the head kick. But on a minute-to-minute basis, Vera's one of the worst fighters in the bantamweight division. Truly, in terms of the rankings, high-level fighters. Literally was losing to Frankie Edgar before he had to fluke him. I think his last clean, consistent performance was against Rob Font, where he literally got outstruck on the numbers. He just landed more damage, more knockdowns. Vera on a minute-to-minute basis is not efficient, and he's not effective whatsoever. And the exact opposite can be said about David Martinez. David Martinez is incredibly dynamic, throws with high volume, high pace, very, a variety of attacks, very good technique as well. He doesn't just swing for the fences. His footwork is quite good as well, in and out movement, cuts angles, very, very quick fighter. And I'm surprised to see how well he did against Rob Font last time out, where, I did pick him in that fight. Glad I did. Should have bet him in that fight, didn't. But, Rob Font, crafty vet, common opponent. David Martinez had some adversity later in the fight, but I was just incredibly, pleased to see how he can keep up a pace like that against a crafty vet who presses a high boxing pace. And David Martinez was strike for strike with him for 3 rounds, didn't get tired, and I was highly impressed. Now, Mexico City elevation, this could favor Marlon Vera. It could, because Marlon Vera, the one thing he does have is cardio. But the reason he has good cardio is because he does not fucking throw or do anything the whole fight. It's easy to, be fresh in round 5 when you've thrown 40 significant strikes, David Martinez is already going to be up 2-0. Going into the third, it's just a matter of, does he get finished or completely gas out, fall off a cliff in the third? I don't think he does. I think he wins a unanimous decision here against Marlon Vera. He's going to throw more variety of techniques, he's going to throw him more often. So that's just how it is in this fight. And I don't see him getting TKO'd. Pretty tough. Has a chin on him. Give me Martinez. We move on to the main event of the evening. Brandon Moreno versus Lerner Kavanagh. We got Lerner Kavanagh, lad. Look, Lerner Kavanagh, I've been highly impressed with everything I've seen from him. Everything I've seen from Lerner Kavanagh, I've been drastically impressed. Truly. And people are saying, oh, I don't get the hype on Lerner Kavanagh. I don't know what you're watching. Truly. And you'll still say that Teba Gautier, has a super high ceiling after his last performance. But Lerner Kavanagh will touch gold in the UFC, and I'm telling you that now. And I'm telling you that, like, he's fucking the best striker in the division, probably. I think he truly is. Him and Manel Kape. Lerner Kavanagh and Manel Kape are the best strikers in this division. Kavanagh beats Joshua Van on the feet. He was schooling Johnson before the TKO. He got tired. He had his hands down, rookie mistake. But, the kid is only getting better on a fight-to-fight basis. And on the Contender Series, he fought a, high-level opponent. I believe it was Angtuan Ho. Knocked him out stiff. Beautiful setup shot. Against Ochoa, who's a high-level striker as well, who's came around. That was not an easy opponent for Lerner Kavanagh to face. Beat him clean, unanimous decision, outstriked him 30-27. And, on the regional scene as well, fought at a high level of competition. On Cage Warriors, he's fought a lot of undefeated fighters on the regional scene as well. Felipe Dos Santos is a fighter that has been cut from the UFC, but, I believe he was 2-1 in his UFC tenure, where he only lost to Lerner Kavanagh and Manel Kape. So take that for what you will. Like I said, those are the two best strikers in the flyweight division, in my opinion. So, I'm going to take that win with a grain of salt, but it was still a decent performance, and he also displayed some offensive grappling in that fight, showing that he's improving on a fight-to-fight basis. The kid's speed is ridiculous. He's probably one of the fastest fighters I've ever seen. Him, Kyoji Horiguchi, Cody Garbrandt, in terms of pure, just deadly speed, like they are all on the same level. And I think that Lerner Kavanagh is just a truly ridiculous talent. He was easily outstriking Charles Johnson, making him look silly before the TKO. I mean, he wasn't even losing exchanges in that fight before he got knocked out. Now, like I said, he did, display some offensive grappling recently in his performances. He does not need to be doing that here at all versus Brandon Moreno, because Brandon Moreno is a better grappler than he is. Brandon Moreno has good guillotines, good triangles, good submission game overall. That would be problematic for Kavanagh, and that's also not his fast set. He would get very tired at this elevation. He needs to go for a first-round TKO, and I think he can get it. Brandon Moreno, I've picked against him, against Tetsudo Taira, cashed there on Taira, and I've been seeing a major fall-off in Brandon Moreno's performances ever since this Pantoja fight. Did not look good versus Royval. I almost picked Royval there. I should have. That plus 200 next to Royval's name in that fight was just screaming at me, but I didn't take it. Beat Albazi clean, but Albazi, has been suffering with some big-time issues. He had a good performance there, but Albazi just did not show up in that fight, in my opinion. The Steve Versek fight was not a good performance whatsoever by Moreno. He looked horrible in that fight. That was like a 3-2 very, very, very close fight where Steve Versek was winning a lot of the striking exchanges, giving him big-time issues with kicks, knees up the middle, just being a varied striker. Brandon Moreno recently is only trying to box, and I don't know why. Of course, he did threaten that triangle versus Taira, but he knew he was in for a grappling match there. He's literally only boxing now. He's not getting gritty, throwing switch kicks like he finished Kai Kara France with. He's not varying his attacks. He's getting a little bit complacent with his game. And I even remember one of his interviews, he was like, I never understand this with fighters. They're trying to oversimplify things late into their career, and it's really not helping them. He was working with some boxing coach, and he was like, to truly understand the MMA striking range, you have to understand boxing. I'm like, MMA striking is not boxing, dude. This is literally something you learn on day one. But he's literally trying to just be a boxer there and use like fucking Canelo style or something. I don't know. But this is how this fight's going to go. If Lerner Kavanagh doesn't knock him out in the first 2 rounds, Brandon Moreno will pick up the pace, use his championship experience, better cardio base 2 steal, 3, 4, 5 on the cards, maybe get a late submission. But I'm going to pick Lerner Kavanagh by first round TKO. I think he knocks Brandon Moreno out cold in his hometown and skyrockets himself up the rankings. So yeah, give me Lerner Kavanagh. I have a bet on Lerner Kavanagh at plus 205 for a unit. I have the under 4.5 in this fight for a unit. And I also have a parlay on this card. Typically, I'm not a guy that likes to parlay this way. I'm a 2-team, 3-team at most type of guy on a parlay. I don't like to throw 5, 6, 7 fights in a row because you're never going to hit that realistically. But I do have Damian Pinas here, Francis Marshall, motherfucking Ryan Gandra, Emmanuel Rodriguez, and last but not least, David Martinez in a 5-team parlay. So yeah, those are my bets for the card, all plus money. I think they're going to slap. The parlay worries me, but I'm very confident in Lerner Kavanagh in the under 4.5 here in this fight. I don't think Brandon Moreno is going to come out looking good. I think he's going to come out looking flat. I think Lerner is going to catch him. So yeah, those are my predictions and bets for this card. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. That means a lot to me.